The U.S. military has a storied history of firearm developments that have changed the world. From the first pump shotgun to the first service semi-auto rifles and pistols, the U.S. is always at the forefront of arms development. However, with all that success comes many heartbreaking, if not comical, failures. Here are some of the strange experimental ammunition types that didn't quite work out as planned. Ever miss a shot and thought, dang, if only 2 bullets came out I would have hit it? This was the philosophy of Project Salvo. The M14 rifle was notoriously difficult to fire on full auto. So much so that it is the only U.S. service rifle to be equipped with a metal flap on the buttstock to help control the rise. Troops were often shooting nothing but the sky by their 3rd or 4th round on full auto. Training them to muscle the weapon on target was expensive and time-consuming. The Project Salvo team stacked 2 bullets inside the brass case of a 7.62 NATO round. The Army and Marine Corps seemed extremely excited about the idea. They made some 4 million rounds and conducted multiple tests trying to make the system work. The project even saw a second attempt years later called Salvo 2, but it never worked out as planned. Well, to be fair, it did work just fine, but there was no advantage to it. When the rifle was at rest, the 2 bullets tended to land a mere centimeter or 2 from each other, so a target was hit with 2 half-size bullets in the same spot, rather than 1 large bullet. The effect was negligible. Now you might ask, what about the trooper spraying into the air on full auto? Wouldn't the rounds now spread out and increase hit probability? Yes, but why not just give the trooper a dedicated rifle that shot smaller ammo in a more controllable way, like the M16? It would be interesting to see what this round would do in a belt-fed weapon like the M60. Maybe make every other round duplex. Triplex rounds also exist, shooting 3 projectiles, but the military wasn't as interested in them. Number 4. Triangular cased ammunition. Also known as Trounds or Dardic rounds, ammunition cased inside a triangular plastic case was found to take up to 50% less space than traditional ammo. The cases also glided nicely against metal surfaces, but the cartridges never fed reliably into firearms and they were abandoned quickly. Number 3. Caseless ammunition. Similar in appearance to Trounds, caseless ammunition has no shell to extract at all. Instead, the shell is entirely made of hardened powder which encases the projectile inside. When the trigger is pulled, the entire case burns up and sends the projectile down the barrel. This increases reliability and speed of the gun, as the steps to have a firearm mechanically extract a shell can be completely overlooked. The U.S. Army never adopted the project, but kept the results classified as they likely don't want a potential futuristic breakthrough getting into the wrong hands. I think it is likely that the fouling that came from these rounds burning up in the barrels caused reliability problems. It's also possible that these rounds wore down the metal parts too quickly for service use. The Army in 2004 attempted again to use the design, except with a plastic case. Number 2. Flechettes. In the Vietnam War, the military wanted to increase the range of its shotguns for jungle fighting. Why not load a bunch of metal darts into a 12-gauge round? Though they did slightly increase the range, they tended to tumble and lose stability when brushing up against foliage. A sideways hit from a flechette might not even break the skin at a range where a double-aught buck would penetrate. Also, a direct hit from a steel flechette was more akin to a nail gun wound rather than the lead buckshot that deflated, making larger wounds. Number 1. Gyrojet ammo. And now for my favorite. It's the Cold War, James Bond, and Buck Rogers all rolled up into one. The weapon of the future, the gyrojet. Imagine you had a pistol or a rifle that shot rockets. The projectile you fired at the enemy could be massive, and the firearms would be very simple to make, as they are nothing more than aluminum tracks to guide the rocket. The rockets do all the work. What could go wrong? Well, a lot went wrong, sadly. They are very inaccurate when compared to traditional ammunition. You may notice that rockets look nothing like bullets. That's because they need stabilizing fins and a totally different shape to work. A little over 1% of the time, when the military pulled the trigger, the rocket rounds misfired. This is an insanely high malfunction rate, and totally unacceptable. And the funniest part of the gyrojet round is that they don't work at close range. You see, a rocket starts off very slowly until it accelerates to speed. This means that when the trigger was pulled, you had to hold it on the target for about 1 second until it left the barrel. And worst of all, if someone was within 0 to 5 feet of you, the gyrojet round would just bounce off the person and sputter on the floor like a firework. I guess we'll all be sticking to old lead and powder for a while longer. Check out Taofledermaus if you want to see some of these being fired. I used some of their footage in the video, links in the description below.